So what happens to your credit score when you open a new credit card? What happens to your credit score when you close a credit card? Let's take a look based on the factors that we just went over. So when you open a new credit card, here's the different factors that come into play. Number one, it has no effect on your payment history because you're not paying on time or paying late. You just open a new credit card. So it really has no impact on the most important factor. The second factor, it'll increase your credit limit, which will reduce your credit utilization. Your credit utilization is the second most important factor in your credit score, so this is a significant boost to your credit score overall. Third, it'll negatively impact your credit history in the short term. So if you currently have a card that you've had for 3 years, you open a new card, now the average age of your credit account has been cut in half to 1.5 years. So that's a bad thing, although in the long term, it'll improve the average age of your credit accounts because as the credit card accounts that you're opening age, new credit card accounts will have much less of an impact. So if you have 5 credit cards that you've had open for 3 years, you open a new credit card, it'll barely make a dent in the average age of your credit history. So it does have a short-term negative impact, but a long-term positive impact on the average age of your credit history. Next factor, it will improve your total accounts. So as we discussed, the more credit accounts you have open, the better it is for your credit score. Lenders love to see other lenders lending to you. It makes them think that you are a credit-worthy borrower. Next, it hurts your credit inquiries because a new inquiry will show up on your credit report. But again, that is a small impact factor and it'll more or less disappear in just a few months. So that's how your credit score is impacted when you open a new card. Basically, it has a big improvement on a high impact factor, which is your credit utilization. It has a negative impact on your credit history and your credit inquiries, which are both low impact factors, and it will improve your total accounts, which is also a low impact factor. So basically, it improves one high impact factor, and kind of the low impact factors have a slightly negative impact in the short term, and they cancel each other out and more or less disappear and turn into positives over the long term. What happens when you close a credit card? Number one, it has no impact on your payment history. If you have a history of on-time payments, that's great. If you have any delinquencies, that'll still be there. So it has zero impact on your most important factor. Number two, it decreases your total credit limit, which increases your credit utilization. This is really, really bad for your credit score. For example, if you have $1,000 in credit card debt and $10,000 as a credit card limit, that's a 10% utilization rate. If you close a credit card with a $5,000 limit on it, you are now at 20% utilization for the same amount of debt. Number three, it negatively impacts your average age of credit history. Number four, it negatively impacts your total accounts open. And number five, it has no impact on your credit inquiries. For these reasons, closing a credit card is almost unilaterally bad. It'll have a negative impact on a high impact factor, which is your credit utilization, and a negative impact on your credit history, and a negative impact on your total accounts open. So closing a credit card almost always hurts your credit score. You basically never want to close a credit card unless you really have to. There are really only 3 reasons that you'd want to cancel a credit card, and we'll talk about each of these reasons in more details in a future section. But let's just go over those 3 reasons now. The 3 reasons you might want to cancel a credit card are, number one, to avoid paying the annual fee. Most of the time, you'll be able to get out of paying this fee anyway. Number two, you might have to close a credit card in order to be able to open a new credit card. For example, American Express has a limit of 4 credit cards per person. If you already have 4 credit cards with American Express, you might have to cancel one of their cards to open another card. And this is a totally valid reason to cancel a credit card, assuming your credit score can take the hit. Number 3, you might want to close a credit card so that you can reapply and reopen that credit card in a year or 2 to earn the same sign-up bonus once again. This isn't something that you can do with every single credit card, and it is something that will hurt your credit. However, for a lot of people, being able to sign up for credit cards again and again and get a lot of sign-up bonuses is more important to them than maintaining a perfect credit score. And realistically, a lot of the people who are doing this can take those hits on their credit score. If you have an 800 credit score, you're fine with a 20-point drop because you're still going to have a 780 credit score, which will still let you get most credit cards. This is a really advanced strategy and isn't what we're going to be covering in this course. So those are the 3 reasons why you might want to cancel a credit card. For the most part, you really want to keep your credit card accounts open so that they anchor down your credit history and improve your total accounts open. In other words, you basically want to leave these credit cards open forever as long as you can get out of paying the annual fee. And again, we'll go into more detail in each of these three reasons in their respective section, in the section about getting out of annual fees, in the section about opening new credit cards, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about the third strategy of canceling credit cards and reapplying for them in a year or two. But again, this is something that will hurt your credit score and is a very advanced strategy that the vast majority of the people who are going through this course are not going to need to do. So we're just going to touch on it, but we're not going to cover that in depth detail.